Morning, everybody. I'm really pleased to have the opportunity to share with you today some of the findings from a project that I'm currently leading and working on to review the current Scottish marine biodiversity data landscape. And this work will hopefully contribute towards helping us as a marine community to better harness the value and of the Scottish marine biodiversity data that we invest quite a lot of resource in collecting by making recommendations that will help to improve the accessibility and availability of the data for kind of use past its original use of collection to its full potential. So I kind of want to start with kind of why is there a greater need than ever before? And there's been lots of discussions today and presentations today, which I think this really kind of chimes with. So the twin challenges and the global climate emergency, biodiversity crisis, and I think COP26 just a couple of weeks ago really kind of brought that to the forefront of lots more people's minds than maybe before. A robust evidence base is obviously needed to support policy and informed decision making and to protect biodiversity and monitor change over time. And a blue economy and blue growth is increasing sustainable human activity in the marine environment. We need to be able to assess cumulative impacts and to underpin kind of marine spatial planning. And also Scotland's green recovery from the COVID-19 pandemic and having access to robust high quality data sets is really critical to the evidence base in efficiently and effectively kind of achieving and delivering all of these. So what are some of the barriers to using biodiversity data currently? And the graph in the bottom right hand corner of this slide, it's been produced from a stakeholder survey that was put out to the marine community back in May as part of this project. And if any of you on the conference today completed that, thank you, it's really appreciated. And the graph really shows the level of satisfaction with the currency, quality, accessibility, discovery and range of data sets available. So the overall picture is relatively positive. However, looking at what we need to focus on improving, the ease of discovery of data sets and the currency of data sets are relatively showing less satisfaction across the respondents. And I think it's interesting to see that the range of data sets was one of the ones that had higher satisfaction over the five categories there. And perhaps that's reflective of there are a lot of data out there. People know there's a lot of data out there, but it's the ability to discover that data, to access that data, and also to know how up to date that data is. So the data currency are some of the barriers that we're still facing. Although it has improved lots over the years, there are these barriers that still exist. And just in the speech bubbles there, it's kind of reflective of these are some of the key or some of the recurring themes rather that have come through in the survey. And one of those, for example, difficult to find data. There's no way to easily collate data from multiple different systems and know whether relevant data sets have been missed. Lack of data standardization or consistency in format. There's so many different online portals that it's difficult to know where to go to and know when new data has been published. And then also the kind of reliability and the accuracy of records. So these are just some examples of some of the feedback about the barriers that stakeholders are finding with marine biodiversity data. And so looking through this project, we're really aiming to coordinate and streamline the flow of marine biodiversity data flows in Scotland and between organisations into existing downstream infrastructures, so that marine data can then be accessed and collated and used by others. So that's kind of the overarching project aim. And this is an adjunct to the Scottish Biodiversity Information Forum review that was published in 2018, which focused more on the terrestrial and freshwater data. So hopefully this will help to bring together the whole kind of picture of biodiversity data in Scotland and what the needs and requirements are for data recording. And so NatureScot are leading this, but it's very much in collaboration with stakeholders across 4 sectors, which I'll refer to later on in this presentation as well: public sector, environmental NGOs, industry and academia. And so the project focused on, first and foremost, kind of engagement with stakeholders, collaboration across the different marine sectors, and documenting what the views, needs and requirements are. So that's kind of the key thing that we've been aiming to do, and identifying through that where the barriers and the gaps and dysfunctional or duplicated workflows exist. And I'll talk about in the next slide how we've been doing that. And throughout all of this as well, we've been looking at the infrastructure and the resource that's available to support the recording infrastructure. So exploring, for example, what data do individuals, organisations collect and the drivers for collection of this data. So are we collecting the data that we really need to use? It's kind of fulfilling the drivers for that data, and where does the data get then submitted to? And if it is being submitted, how long or where does the data reach from its original submission point? So does it reach a blockage in the data flow pathway? And then also just how or understanding better what stakeholders use and need access to. So what data do we need now, and what data looking forward into the years to come, so we can start to utilise the technology that's available and the tools that are available to better manage that data and set ourselves up to be able to then use that data effectively for that recovery of nature that been speaking about today. So, and yeah, so underneath all that, I suppose, is the fair data principles and kind of using data as many times as possible past its original kind of collection, reason for collection. And we've gone about doing this by, first of all, that stakeholder questionnaire that I spoke about in the beginning slides. That was kind of near the beginning of the project to try and help inform the subsequent bits of work. And one of these bits of work has been mapping out the data flows from the key players and the systems of the various biodiversity receptors, for example, seals, cetaceans, benthic seabed habitat species and birds and fish, and then also across the different sectors, and kind of placing those on top of each other so that you can view it in a more holistic way as well. So although it could be broken down by sector and by receptor, we want to be able to view it how that works as basically a big jigsaw puzzle, really. So trying to work through that, and out of that do an options appraisal detailing kind of the niche and the rationale of key systems, pros and cons of different options that we could do to improve those systems and data flows, and then the kind of infrastructure and resource that might be involved in that. And stakeholder discussions throughout has been really kind of fundamental to all of this, kind of getting people's views and opinions and understanding what the needs are. But really also working with at a UK level with the MEDN data archive centres, and kind of fostering a join up between what the Scottish aspirations are and what the aspirations at a UK level are for biodiversity recording. And so that's really because marine data, the databases and the portals are very much at a UK scale, that they receive Scottish biodiversity data. And so working at a UK level just makes sense, and trying to get that objective of working towards streamlined data flows and removing those barriers. So that's the diagram on the right there, just as an example.
2 minutes. 2 minutes, John.
Thanks, John. So this is just an overview of some of the needs and requirements that have come out of the stakeholder questionnaire and also the data flow mapping results. And I'll just select a few here. I just wanted to share some of these with you. And they'll probably chime quite nicely as well with those identified through the terrestrial data review from the original ASPIF work. So one of the things is one place to go to search, browse, find data. Access to complete data sets also at a fine scale granularity. So it's great to be able to find records, but having the detail of that as well. And robust quality assurance processes, so you can understand the quality of that data. And then from a data supplier and management perspective, kind of having that holistic overview of the data and mobilizing data that's collected by industry and academic sectors as well. So there's a bunch in there, but I know I'm short on time, so I'm just going to go to my last slide here. So really the next steps now are, in the next couple of months, kind of pulling all this together in a report to document the needs and requirements, and then making recommended improvements to the infrastructure for Scotland that will also identify where the biggest impact kind of across the UK and multiple receptors and or kind of stakeholder groups as well. And then opportunities for collaboration with the original SWIFT kind of terrestrial freshwater needs and the Better Biodiversity project that's kind of ongoing at the moment, and kind of where marine needs align with that. So there's definitely where opportunities happen there. And then continuing this momentum and discussions with stakeholders, because it's such a hot topic right now. And I think we've all been discussing how important it is to kind of get the situation of data made more accessible and available. And so kind of building on that through this review as well. So thanks very much. It's been great to be able to share this with you. I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Rona. That was great. We do have time for some questions.
Yes,
so
there's one question I can see at the moment from Belinda Howell, who's NBN trustee and non-exec director of Marine Management Organisation. She asks, relating to UK aspirations for marine biodiversity data, earlier this year, Wilma Harper and I tried to link your work to MMO Data and Evidence Team. Did anything come of that? And does CFAS also support you effectively?
Hi, yes, that's a really good question. Yes, so I spoke to her name escapes me right now, Ashley Lannon, I think her name is, in MMO. We had a good initial discussion, and we kind of said that would be good to keep in touch throughout this talk. I've just spoken actually to a colleague in DEFRA yesterday, just about kind of the data flow, big data work that's going on with offshore industry data, and talking about kind of the work that's going on between CFAS and them. And I guess this is all connected through the MEDIN kind of at a UK scale as well. So the Marine Data and Information Network, it brings together a lot of these organisations at a UK scale to think about the data flows and the data standards and kind of the structure of the data in terms of whether it's coming from industry or whether it's coming from public sector or citizen science. And so, yes, we have had that initial contact with the MMO, but I wouldn't say, we haven't had kind of, I guess, regular meetings. But yes, thank you, Wilma, for connecting us up in the first place. It's great to make these connections.
Fine. Is there any time for one more, perhaps, if we've got another question?
That was the only question at the moment.
Very good. Okay, thank you. It's interesting, because I'm not a marine biologist, but all those issues occur for terrestrial recording as well. You're well aware of that. It's it can be a bit of a nightmare. So
it's good that there are shared barriers in that way.
Absolutely.
That we're all working towards the same thing.
Very good. Very good. Thank you.